In this video, we will look at how to implement a command design pattern with GitHub Copilot with minimal coding and utilizing GitHub Copilot to generate the code to implement the pattern. So let's quickly create a new application to demonstrate the command design pattern and how we can implement that using GitHub Copilot. So again, I'll select the console app. I'll say gc dot command dot demo, keeping the default. Now here, let me quickly give an info. This is to demonstrate how to implement command design pattern. So with this command, with this, you can be more specific, more detailed to give context for with a Copilot to understand. So now let me begin with creating an interface. I'll call it as I command. So the interface will basically have one function, which is to public string execute, and I'll take command as a name. So now let me create multiple commands. One is copy command. So here I'll say generate copy command, copy command class that implements I command. So now it has given me execute command. So it is even returning me the a simple string. Similarly, let me create one more copy, and this time I'll call it as delete command. So again, same as before, I'll say generate delete command that implement I command. So here I have the delete. So now so there's an issue with the command. So here, let me do this. Yeah. So here I have two commands, copy and delete. Now how does an undo and redo work is for every operation user does, the particular command is added into a list or even a stack in some cases, and then it is picked up from that list when we do and redo. So undo and redo are basically, you can imagine, as a list of commands which are processed depending on your action of an undo or a redo. So let me create a commands list. Command list. This is basically an entity which will store the command details. So example, I can say generate command list entity with I command property and name of command. So basically what I'm looking at is I have I command name, which is your copy or paste or other details, and then I have the actual command which I've executed. So now what I'll also add is add a new class, call it as command list service. So this is the main service which will take care of allowing us to add, remove items from the command. So now I can say generate a command list class uh, with command list entity as a property. So I'm basically asking it to generate me a public class, and now I can add generate a constructor. So now I have this simple basic command service which is initialized at the beginning of the program. Now I can say generate add command method to take name and I command as input and add to the command list. So here I have, instead of doing this, okay, there is some issue here. So this would be a list of commands. So let me quickly manipulate this manually. Again, it's the GitHub given a prompt, the GitHub may be right, may give you wrong information, right? So depending on that. So now what I'll do is, command list dot add. So if you notice here, it is also giving me the recommendations depending on what I'm going to type. That also is part of the inline help and inline assistance that we get. So now what we have here is basically a command list service, which will take a list of, which will take a command and then return back or save that item into the command. So now let me say generate get command uh, which returns I command based on so name. So now basically I'm expecting I pass a name and in return I get a command. So how do I use this? Right. So now here if I go to my the main program.cs, right here I can basically say command list service is equal to new. So it is expecting me to pass a list of commands and I'll say yes command. So now let me quickly, pass on the information of say console dot read, right? If I'm read key, or let me even simple, I can say initialize command, sorry, svc dot add command, and I can say copy and return a new copy command. Similarly, I can add. So you can imagine in the case of real world application, this list will be added from an interface whenever a user does copy command or delete any operation the user does, it would trigger this add command from your endpoint, which could be an API or it could be a local service that is going to write. I'm basically simulating the option. Now I can as well say, where new command is equal to svc dot get command by copy, which is my copy command. So now I can say console dot write line and then I can say execute a new command and execute. This will be my name. So now similarly I can pass delete and then it should now return uh, the details of both the commands and the command that it has executed. So if you see here, there's a copy command and delete command, which is now executed into the based on the name I've given and it was able to retrieve. So this is now in a real world scenario, instead of a list, you may use a dictionary or you may use a stack to push and pop the commands. Now these are all data structures that you can use. But here the focus was to show you how you can generate the code using GitHub Copilot and then fine tune the code to align with exception handling, errors and various other data validations others. But this should give you an idea of how you can implement a typical design pattern or a typical code using GitHub and speed up your development process.